Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing another installment of the Friday Market Update. This is a series where we do technical analysis on not just Bitcoin, but we also are going to be doing technical analysis on Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, Litecoin, Cardano, and Neo. We're also going to be talking about the cryptocurrency markets as a whole, and this kind of indecision that we're seeing in the Bitcoin market. It's been trading sideways for the last couple of days, and I want to discuss where Bitcoin might be headed, because it's in between two important zones of around $6,500 and $7,000, and it's really in this kind of decision period over the last couple of days. So we want to be discussing that as well as doing TA on those other altcoins I mentioned. So if you enjoyed today's video, guys, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. We do cryptocurrency videos every single day, and I wouldn't want you to miss any of them. So let's get right into it. Bitcoin is currently trading at around $6,600. Depending on the exchange, it's a little bit lower on the chart that we're going to be looking at today. Its volume is actually back above $5 billion. It's around $5.25 billion of market volume in the last 24 hours. Bitcoin's volume has been very low in the last couple of months. We know that because Bitcoin has been in this continued downtrend, but it's actually broken out of it about a week ago, as we've discussed here on the channel. It's down about 1% in the last 24 hours, as well as the rest of the cryptocurrency market is down. A lot of the cryptocurrencies are down quite a bit more than 1%, though. This is something we've talked about before. Normally, the altcoins go in the same direction that Bitcoin does, but normally they get a little carried away and they go a lot further in that direction than Bitcoin does. So Bitcoin's down like 1%, and we have a bunch of altcoins down here, maybe down 4 or 5, 6, 10%. I think I saw a negative 18% here. Where did I see that? It's right here. Negative 17.57, that would be Tezos. So some news around Tezos. But Bitcoin has been doing all right. It's kind of going sideways. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. It is still above the $100 billion market capitalization level. That was very, very important support. We saw Bitcoin get support on $100 billion of market capitalization in a very, very strong way in the last little while. Around the last 10 days, it happened twice. We double bottomed down there. Let's see if we can get the actual market capitalization chart up here. But Bitcoin pulled all the way back down, and it broke an important level of around $6,000, which I thought it would actually hold at, and it went down to about $5,750, which turned out to be the actual bottom, which actually correlates with $100 billion. As we can see right here, it double bottomed down here around $100 billion, and that turned out to be the level of support that we were actually destined to get support on. That's actually where we bottomed out. The total market cap, cryptocurrency market capitalization is still above $250 billion. That's also an important level of support. It's around $265 billion currently, and Bitcoin's market dominance has also been moving up a little bit. Bitcoin's market dominance is around 42.5% right now. For some reason, my top bar up here doesn't want to load, so you'll have to go by my memory, or you can open CoinMarketCap for yourselves. But Bitcoin's market dominance is around 42.5% right now. That isn't that great, as we've talked about in the last couple of videos. We don't really want Bitcoin's market dominance to go up, because typically there's a correlation when Bitcoin's market dominance is going up. There it is, 42.5%. Typically, when Bitcoin's market dominance is going up, that correlates with the price action of the entire market going down, and vice versa. So typically, when Bitcoin's market dominance is going down, that means, by definition, more value, or more volume, however you want to say it, is flowing back into the altcoins. People are more likely to take risks. And because, like what we discussed earlier, where these altcoins move further in the same direction than Bitcoin does, when more of that volume is flowing back into the altcoins, it means that the altcoins have more room to run than Bitcoin does, and they have more room to actually propel the market back up to its all-time highs. So that's one of the reasons that we'd like to see Bitcoin's dominance start to go down a little bit more. Let's get onto the chart over here. Bitcoin is currently trading at around $6,550. We're on the Bitfinex chart. This is a composite of all the different price actions for the different markets. Some of the different markets are off a little bit, as you may have noticed. But what we saw here in the last couple of days is Bitcoin was in an ascending wedge pattern. I'm just going to go over, since we're doing the Friday market update, and if you guys, I want to go over basically everything we've talked about in this week, because if you haven't seen anything else, I want you to be able to understand what's been going on in the last week just from this video. So in the last week, Bitcoin had a very nice run up about almost exactly a week ago. Had a very nice run up all the way up to around $6,500 on the wicks up here. Had two very, very nice green candlesticks. We watched this happen live in the Discord, and it was quite a bit of fun. If you guys aren't already in the Discord, go ahead and join with the link in the pinned comment. We have a lot of fun over there. We have a good community going, and it's really just a lot of fun. But Bitcoin ran up initially, had two very, very nice green candlesticks with big volume, as we can see right here. It traded sideways for a couple days, and then we had another one. I think this was the one that we actually caught on camera. You can watch that video up here in the top right. We watched this little breakout happen live. That was pretty funny. And then we traded sideways, fell off a little bit, kind of established this ascending wedge pattern. Let's get the moving averages out of here so you can see this. Established this ascending wedge pattern, and then we actually broke bearish out of it. Now, guys, if you're not familiar with ascending wedge patterns, I'm going to plug another video. There's a video on the top right to show you how to show you what triangle patterns are and what wedge patterns are. If you guys aren't familiar with them, go ahead and watch that video. You'll actually understand the way this works. But essentially, what an ascending wedge pattern is a rising uptrend of resistance and a rising uptrend of support. And typically, you see a bearish breakout of this. I talked about, I think it was in yesterday's video, about how I expect Bitcoin to break bearish out of this ascending wedge pattern, and a couple hours later, that's exactly what it did. As you can see here, it broke bearish out of it basically just by trading sideways. We didn't get a really drastic break sideways because we're getting a lot of support on the day chart that I'm going to be showing you in a second. But we broke sideways, and as you can see, we've just been trading sideways for the last little while. Let's go over here to the 4-hour chart. There's something I want to show you on the moving averages, if I'm not mistaken. And it was the 20 interval exponential moving average and the 21 interval moving average. It's not like the 20-hour because we're on the 4-hour chart, but we have these two moving averages right here. It's these two right here. And typically you see a lot of trading around this on the 4-hour chart, around these two intervals on the 4-hour chart. And that's what we were seeing. We were seeing support garnered up here, and now we're actually below them and we're trying to get back above them. I would like to see Bitcoin get back above these two moving averages here on the 4-hour chart. If we come out here to the day chart, the reason we've been trading sideways and haven't been like crashing out of that falling wedge pattern, at least in my opinion, is because we are still testing support on the 20-day exponential moving average, which is this top line right here, this top exponential moving average, and the 21-day moving average down here. Now, guys, there's a good reason that I show both of these moving averages, because they have a very similar function, but since they are different moving averages, one's an exponential moving average, one's a simple moving average. If you aren't familiar with how those calculations are done to actually produce those different moving averages, it's not important. All you need to know is the calculations are slightly different. The reason I have them both up is because sometimes the market gets support and resistance around one, and sometimes it gets support and resistance around another. A lot of times it's the 20-day, but you can also see it happen on the 21-day moving average rather than the 20-day exponential moving average. But what we've seen in the last couple of days is Bitcoin has come up here, run up a little bit, as we talked about on the channel. I expected a nice little run up here after this first break above this downtrend that I'll define in just a second. After we saw that, can I not get volume? There we go. After we saw this little break up here, I expected that Bitcoin would kind of come up here and flag out a little bit and get support and test these moving averages. Now, guys, we have been trading sideways on them for like 4 days now. I am hoping that in the next 48 hours, we're going to see a big volume candle go up to around 6,800 or hopefully break that. That's what I'm expecting to happen, and that's what I'm hoping would happen, because the longer we sit down here on these moving averages, the less likely we are to be able to hold on them. We're not just going to be able to hold on these moving averages forever. We need to actually see some upward movement. Typically, a market doesn't trade sideways for all that long on the day chart. You just don't normally see that happen. So to see it happen, that can really indicate that we might see a bearish breakout of these. If we do, we'll discuss that scenario in just a second. The downtrend that I was talking about, let me go back and define this. That would be this downtrend. We have our pivot point up here, right up here, a set point right here for the downtrend, and then we have two levels of confirmation right here and right here. Now, guys, the terminology I'm using there, the pivot point and the set point, that's my terminology. The pivot point is the point around which the trend line pivots. That's why I call it that. As you can see, it's pivoting around this point. It's set right here. The degree is set right there. And then the trend line is confirmed with a couple of touches right over here. But we actually broke above that and did the little formation that I just talked about. Like I said in a couple of videos ago, or well, yesterday's video, you can watch that in the top right. In yesterday's video, I discussed how what I expect Bitcoin to do is one of two things, but mostly what I expect it to do is for it to, whoa, that's not what I meant to do. Is for it to do exactly what it's done so far, which is come up here, get support on the 20-day exponential moving average and the 21-day standard moving average, simple moving average, excuse me, and then come up here, break through, hit around $7,000. It's going to get some resistance there, and the reason for that is because this 50-day moving average is coming down to meet it here. We're going to get a little bit of resistance around $6,800 and around $7,000, but if we can break those two levels, it should be basically clear sailing all the way up to around $7,500 and then up to $8,000. If we break $8,000, that's definitely going to signal a bull run for me, guys, because the last real level of resistance that I'm looking at in this market is this downtrend of this descending triangle pattern that we've been in for the last 4 or 5 months or so. One more thing that we want to talk about is the RSI. Bitcoin has touched 30 on the RSI 4 times in the last month and a half. We've seen Bitcoin come down here and touch this several times, and typically that's not something that you would see on the Bitcoin chart. Typically when Bitcoin comes down and tests that level, that normally means that you're about to see a rally. As we can see back here, 30 on the RSI, rally. 30 on the RSI, rally. 30 on the RSI, rally. You don't normally see 4 touches on the daily RSI on Bitcoin like that, or we would have seen a rally. So I definitely am expecting a rally to form. But anyway, we've talked about Bitcoin too much. Let's move on to Ethereum. Ethereum, I'm going to kind of go through these pretty quickly because we want to wrap up here. Essentially, what's happened with Ethereum is it's been in this descending wedge pattern. As you can see, it broke bullish out of it, and it's getting resistance on the 20-day exponential moving average. I don't like seeing that happen. I want Ethereum to get above that 20-day exponential moving average because that's another like $45 billion in market capitalization that can help to power a bull run. If if Ethereum gets above this 21-day exponential moving average, this 20-day exponential moving average, then that's going to be a lot of bullish volume in the cryptocurrency market. Right now, it being under this is a bearish sign for me, and if Ethereum isn't being bullish, that's going to make it harder for Bitcoin to be bullish. I've used this analogy twice now. It's like when mommy and daddy start fighting, and you're the kid, you're the trader, you're the trader, you're the kid. You're not going to have a good day if mommy and daddy are fighting. Right now, Bitcoin's looking bullish, and Ethereum isn't really looking all that bullish. We have a spinning top right here. It's kind of trying to figure out where it wants to go. It's trying to figure out what it wants to do with its life, and yeah, we really want Ethereum to break bullish above this 20-day exponential moving average. That would bring more bullish volume back into the market. That's what we want to see there. Ethereum over Bitcoin is kind of just in this weird descending triangle pattern, or this descending wedge pattern, this falling wedge pattern. It's almost a trading channel because these two lines are just about parallel. They're not, but we're going to keep an eye on that. Moving on to XRP over BTC, or over USD, excuse me. XRP over USD is in an interesting pattern. It's had a pretty strong level of support down here around 45 cents before, and it has this downtrend that's currently under. It too is under a 20-day exponential moving average. I talked about this in a couple of videos ago, where XRP over USD, Ethereum over USD, Bitcoin Cash over USD, Litecoin over USD, and EOS over USD are all looking bearish because they're all under their 20-day exponential moving average. If they all get above that, I think we're going to see a massive increase in Bitcoin's price action, but we need to see that happen first. And one big catalyst for that little explosion in Bitcoin's price action would be XRP right here getting above that 20-day exponential moving average. It is in this descending triangle pattern right here. If it breaks bullish out of this, it's also probably going to break bullish above this 20-day exponential moving average, which would most certainly be nice to see. XRP over BTC is in a similar pattern, although it has a little more time to go in it. Bitcoin Cash over USD, the chart looks almost exactly the same as Ripple. We've been under a downtrend. We're under the 20-day exponential moving average, and we have a tiny little uptrend of support right here. We're down here really low on the RSI right now. I'd like to see Bitcoin Cash break this downtrend. The same story for XRP. We come down here to Litecoin. Litecoin's kind of just been letting me down this year, guys. I was really bullish on Litecoin at the beginning of this year, but I'm not as bullish on it as I used to be. One of the problems with Litecoin is it just has trouble differentiating itself from Bitcoin. There's so many cryptocurrency projects that are purely designed to be currencies at this point that are better at doing that than Litecoin and Bitcoin are. So that's one of the big qualms I have with Litecoin. I don't know that we're going to see another like 300% jump in a week like we saw back here in the end of 2017. Like we did with Litecoin. I don't know if we're going to see that again, but it has gotten support down here around the $75 price level, around $80, where we had previous resistance. I remember watching this run up. That was crazy. It got support back here, and now we're getting kind of support on it again. This is more of an area than an actual level, and we have come overextended on the RSI. If we come over to EOS over USD, EOS is just kind of been trading up and down. This is a swing trader's paradise right here is what this is. If you guys have been trading EOS and you like sold up here and buying down here, this is a nice thing. EOS is having a similar issue. I've talked about this a little while ago, how EOS is under its 20-day exponential moving average also. We'd like to see it get above its 20-day. Let's just go ahead and run through that really quickly. Ethereum over USD, under the 20-day. XRP over USD, under the 20-day. Bitcoin Cash, under the 20-day. Litecoin over USD, under the 20-day. EOS, under the 20-day. I think, is ADA? ADA is under its 20-day on its Bitcoin comparative. That's not a good sign because Bitcoin's above its, and it's straddling its right now. It's looking like it's having trouble getting above it. So if all 5 of those cryptocurrencies reject off their 20-day exponential moving average, that's going to increase the bearish sentiment in the market, and that's going to drag Bitcoin probably back below its. If we see something like that happen, what I'm expecting to see happen on Bitcoin, if Bitcoin does break its 20-day exponential moving average, what I'm expecting to see happen is essentially an inverse head and shoulders pattern, and that would look a little bit something like this, where we would draw the first shoulder right here, we draw the head down here, we draw the shoulder, and maybe we retrace around $6,200, something like that, and then run up here again. I would like to see an inverse head and shoulders pattern form. Even if we don't see a break of the 20-day exponential moving average, we could still kind of call this an inverse head and shoulders pattern with a pattern like this, and then just a little bit of sideways trading. That would almost be an inverse head and shoulders pattern. You could definitely call it that, and that would be a good sign for Bitcoin. But the main thing that I'm looking at is for these altcoins to get their act together, because if we add up the market capitalization of Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, and Litecoin, that's somewhere around, I'm not going to do the math right now, that's around Tell me in the comments, like $75, $80 billion in market capitalization. That's not Bitcoin's level of market cap, but that's a lot of money. And that's a lot of market cap that needs to get its act together, because if all those cryptocurrencies are acting bearish and Bitcoin's acting bullish, that's not a good thing, because the overall market sentiment isn't as insanely bullish as it was in 2017. So we'd like to see that get fixed. Let's talk about NEO for a little bit, and then we're going to wrap the video up. NEO has been doing very well in the last week. In the last week, NEO's run all the way from its lows down here around 460,000 Satoshis all the way up to around 670,000 Satoshis. That was nearly a 50% gain in the last week or so. NEO has been doing very, very well, and is cooling off a little bit, of course. But NEO had been doing very well. It's not anymore, but it had recently surpassed Tether and actually gotten up here into the top 10 again. I think it was actually number 9 for a second. I may have missed that. But NEO has been doing very well. NEO's been very underrated. NEO has had a terrible year. It's been absolutely brutalized. I remember when NEO was running up in 2017, I was trading the heck out of that. NEO was doing very well in 2017, as you can see back here. And it's just been tapering off in the last year or so, in the last 6 months or so. So this little spike is nice to see. It did have very strong support that I was hoping would hold up here around 680,000 Satoshis. Now, as you can see, we've gotten resistance on it, which isn't a good sign for the long term of NEO. But it, unlike a lot of its other fellow altcoins, is actually above its 20-day exponential moving average. So that is nice to see. Let's talk about ADA, because I think I said we were going to talk about ADA. ADA did recently, briefly, get above its 20-day exponential moving average, and we actually fell back below it. That's not a great thing to see. We didn't really get resistance on the 20-day exponential. We got resistance on this little level right here of around 2,400 Satoshis, which was previous resistance, or previous support, and also previous resistance. It does have some good support down here around 2,000 sats, so I'm looking for ADA to keep trading around here until it can actually break that level and get above its 20-day exponential moving average. If the entire market goes bullish, I think that's going to be a good thing for ADA, but we're going to be keeping up with that in the Friday market updates. If you guys have any other cryptocurrencies that you would like me to cover in the Friday market update, tell me in the comments section down below, and I'll try to remember and put it in next week's video. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed today's video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell. Guys, we do cryptocurrency videos every single day, and I wouldn't want you to miss any of them. But I want to thank each and every single one of you for watching. If you haven't already, go follow me on Twitter at CryptoJebb. You can also follow me on Instagram with the same handle. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, just like I said. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.